What if I told you that finding treasure could be the worst thing that ever happened to you? That somewhere in the mountains of Colorado, there's a mine that's claimed 17 lives and counting? Meet Jake Morrison. 3 weeks ago, he was just another struggling construction worker. Today, he's sitting in a psychiatric ward, mumbling about voices in the walls and shadows that follow him home. The doctors think he's crazy. His family thinks he's lost it completely. But I've seen the security footage. I've talked to the witnesses. And I'm here to tell you, Jake might be the sanest person in this whole story. Because what Jake found in that abandoned mine wasn't just gold. It was something that had been waiting. Something that had been hungry. Something that turns dreams into nightmares and fortune into a living hell. This is the true story of the Widow's Peak mine. And by the end of this video, you'll understand why some treasures should stay buried forever. But first, let me tell you about the 17 people who came before Jake. Because their stories? They're the warning he should have heard. Stay with me, because this gets dark. Really dark. Jake's got 43 minutes. That's how long it takes the glowing figures to walk from Widow's Peak to the edge of Colorado Springs, according to his calculations. 43 minutes to figure out how to stop something that's been perfecting its hunting techniques for millennia. But first, he needs to get Sarah and Emma somewhere safe. Where are we going? Sarah asks as Jake speeds through suburban streets. The airport. Jake's mind is racing. You're taking Emma to your sister in Phoenix. Tonight. Jake, I can't just. Look at the mountain, Sarah. She turns and her face goes white. The golden glow is spreading, flowing down the mountainside like luminous lava. And in that light, shapes are moving. Hundreds of them now. Every person who's ever disappeared into Widow's Peak, all walking together toward the city. Oh my God! Sarah whispers. Emma presses her face to the window. Daddy, why are there so many rock people? Asterisk, Jake's voice grim. Because I made them angry, sweetheart. And now they want to take everyone I love. Jake gets Sarah and Emma on the last flight to Phoenix, had to pay cash, 3 times the normal price, but they're safe. As the plane takes off, Emma waves from her window, and Jake waves back, wondering if he'll ever see her again. But now he's got work to do. Jake calls the Colorado Springs police, the sheriff's department, even tries the FBI. Same response everywhere. Sir, have you been drinking tonight? Nobody's going to believe him until those things reach the city limits. By then, it'll be too late. So Jake makes a different call. Mike's Construction? This is Jake Morrison. I need to rent every piece of heavy equipment you've got. Tonight. And I need it delivered to Widow's Peak Road. Jake's plan is simple, desperate, and probably suicidal. But it's the only plan he's got. See, Jake remembered something from his research. That geologist in 1923 mentioned trace elements that weren't terrestrial, which means whatever's in that mountain, it's not from Earth. It's been mimicking our gold, learning our behaviors, but it's still alien. And aliens, even ancient, powerful aliens, might have weaknesses humans can exploit. Jake sets up the demolition charges himself. 30 years of construction work taught him a lot about controlled explosions. He places them at key structural points around the mine entrance, enough to bring down half the mountain if he needs to. But as he works, he can hear them getting closer. Voices calling his name from the darkness. Not angry anymore, patient. Loving. Like they're proud of him for coming back. Jake. Mike's voice drifts through the trees. You don't have to do this alone. We can help. Jake keeps working. I know what you are now. You're not Mike. You're not any of them. A different voice, Dr. Margaret Chin. Of course we are, Jake. We're more than we ever were before. We're connected, complete, and we want to share that with everyone. Jake finishes placing the last charge and turns around. They're all there. Mike and Margaret and Samuel Murphy and the Henderson family and dozens of others, all glowing faintly in the darkness. All smiling with infinite patience. But they're not alone. Behind them, Jake sees the real horror. The mine has been busy while he was gone. The missing persons reports Sarah mentioned, the hikers who never came back, the camping families who vanished without a trace. They're all here now. Men, women, children. All with that same peaceful smile. All with gold flowing under their skin like luminous veins. Jake, they say in perfect unison, you can't fight what you don't understand. We're not your enemies. We're your salvation. The mountain behind them is pulsing faster now, like a massive heart. And Jake can feel it in his own chest, his heartbeat trying to sync up, his thoughts trying to merge with the collective consciousness that's been growing under Widow's Peak for thousands of years. Look around you, Margaret continues. Look at what your world has become. War, poverty, loneliness, despair. We're offering something better. Unity. An end to suffering. Jake's hand hovers over the detonator. By turning everyone into slaves. Slaves? Mike laughs, and the sound echoes from 100 throats. Jake, look at us. Do we look like slaves? And the terrible thing is, they don't. They look happy. Genuinely, deeply happy in a way Jake's never seen before. No worry lines, no stress, no fear. Just calm, eternal contentment. Your daughter could have this too, Samuel Murphy says. No more nightmares about daddy not coming home. No more watching her parents fight. Just endless love, endless peace. Asterisk, Jake's voice shaking. That's not love. That's erasure. Is it? The collective consciousness speaks through all of them now. Or is individuality just another word for loneliness? You humans spend your whole lives desperate to connect, to belong, to be understood. We're offering true connection, permanent belonging, complete understanding. Jake can feel the pull, not just in his mind, in his body, his soul. The promise of never being alone again, never struggling again, never failing at anything again. But then he thinks about Emma on that airplane, waving goodbye. Emma with her stubborn little chin and her terrible jokes and her absolute conviction that her daddy can fix anything. Emma, who deserves the right to make her own choices. Even if they're wrong choices. Even if they hurt. You know what? Jake says, his voice steadying. Maybe you're right. Maybe connection is better than individuality. Maybe peace is better than struggle. The collective consciousness smiles through 100 faces. But that's not your choice to make for everyone else. Jake hits the detonator. The mountain comes down like a collapsing cathedral. Tons of rocks seal the mine entrance, crushing the alien presence that's been feeding on human consciousness for millennia. The collected spirits of Widow's Peak don't scream in pain. They scream in something worse. They scream in loss. The loss of connection, of unity, of the eternal peace they thought they'd found. Jake runs as the avalanche spreads, rocks bouncing around him like deadly hail. He makes it to his truck just as the largest boulders crash down where he was standing. Jake drives away from the wreckage, covered in dust, ears ringing from the explosion. In his rearview mirror, he watches the golden glow fade from Widow's Peak Mountain. It's over. 3 hours later, his phone rings. Sarah's number. Jake? We just landed. Emma wants to talk to you. Emma's voice comes on the line, bright and normal and completely herself. Daddy, I had the weirdest dream on the airplane. I dreamed you were a superhero and you saved everyone from the rock people. Jake starts crying relief, exhaustion, joy. Just a dream, sweetheart. Just a dream. Are you coming to visit us in Phoenix? Jake looks back toward the mountains, where emergency vehicles are starting to arrive at the avalanche site. There'll be questions, investigations, probably charges for the illegal demolition. But Emma's safe. Sarah's safe. The city's safe. Yes, sweetheart. Daddy's coming to visit real soon. 6 months later, Jake's living in Phoenix. Got a job with a construction company that doesn't ask too many questions about gaps in employment history. Emma visits every weekend, and sometimes Sarah even stays for dinner. The official report on Widow's Peak called it a tragic mining accident, unstable tunnels that collapsed during an earthquake. 17 bodies were recovered from the rubble, some dating back decades. The families finally got closure. Mike Morrison was listed among the dead, a victim of the cave-in that claimed so many lives over the years. Jake attended the funeral, even gave a eulogy about his friend's adventurous spirit and generous heart. He didn't mention the phone calls Mike makes sometimes, late at night. calls that last just long enough for Jake to hear a familiar voice say, "I forgive you, Jake. And I'm waiting." Jake always hangs up, always checks the caller ID, which always shows Mike's disconnected number. He's gotten used to it. The land around Widow's Peak has been declared a geological hazard zone. No camping, no hiking, no development. Which is good, because sometimes, just sometimes, hikers report seeing lights moving under the rockfall. Hearing voices singing old mining songs. The alien consciousness isn't dead. Jake knows that. You can't kill something that old, that vast, that patient with a few tons of rock. But it's contained, at least for now. Weakened. Forced to sleep again. Emma doesn't have nightmares anymore. She's back to being a normal 7-year-old who argues about bedtime and thinks vegetables are gross and believes her daddy can fix anything. And maybe he can't fix everything. Maybe there are some things in this world too big, too old, too alien for one person to handle. But Jake Morrison learned something in those caves under Widow's Peak. Sometimes the most important battles aren't about winning. They're about protecting the people you love from having to fight it all. My name is Jake Morrison. I found gold in the mountains of Colorado, and it nearly cost me everything that mattered. But I also learned something that's worth more than all the gold in the world. Asterisk, Emma's voice. What's that, Daddy? Sometimes the greatest treasure is knowing when to walk away. And that's the true story of Widow's Peak Mine. Jake Morrison gave me permission to share it with you, on one condition. If you ever find yourself in the mountains of Colorado, and you see gold glittering in dark places, walk away. Some treasures aren't worth the price. Thanks for watching, and remember, hit that subscribe button if you want to hear more stories like this. Because trust me, the world is full of secrets that are better left buried. Until next time, stay curious but stay safe. October 15th, 2023. Jake Morrison wakes up at 5 a.m., just like he has every morning for the past 3 years. Coffee that tastes like burnt water. Stale cereal. Bills piled on the kitchen counter that he can't afford to pay. See, Jake's not your typical treasure hunter. He's not some romantic adventurer with expensive gear and a trust fund. He's a 34-year-old guy from Denver who's been laid off twice this year. His truck needs new brakes. His landlord's been calling. And his ex-wife? She's threatening to take their daughter Emma to California if he can't get his act together. So when Jake's buddy Mike calls him up with a get-rich-quick idea, he's listening. Mike's got this metal detector he bought online. Some YouTuber said the mountains are full of gold if you know where to look. Come on, man, Mike says. What's the worst that could happen? Famous last words, right? They drive up to Widow's Peak on a Saturday morning. It's this remote area about 2 hours from Denver, all pine trees and rocky outcrops and silence that makes your ears ring. The locals avoid it, but Mike figures that just means less competition. Jake's not really into it at first. He's tired. He's worried about Emma. He keeps checking his phone, but there's no signal up here. Just him, Mike, and about 1,000 square miles of nothing. But then, around noon, Mike's detector starts going crazy. Dude, this thing's freaking out, Mike says, waving the detector around a cluster of rocks. There's something huge down there. They start digging. And digging. Jake's thinking it's probably just an old soda can or some scrap metal. But Mike's convinced they're about to strike it rich. His eyes get this weird gleam, you know the look. Like he's already spending money he doesn't have. 3 hours later, they hit something solid. It's not a can. It's not scrap metal. It's the entrance to a mine shaft. Holy crap, Jake whispers, shining his flashlight down into the hole. The beam disappears into blackness. There's this smell coming up, not bad exactly, but old. Like the earth has been holding its breath for decades. Mike's already climbing down. Jake, you gotta see this. And that's when Jake makes his first mistake. He follows. The shaft goes down about 20 feet, then opens into this natural cave system. It's bigger than Jake expected, probably carved out by miners decades ago. The walls are rough-hewn rock, supported by rotting wooden beams that creak when you breathe too hard. But it's what's glinting in their flashlight beams that stops them cold. Cold everywhere. Not just flakes or dust, actual nuggets. Some as big as marbles. They're scattered across the cave floor like someone dropped a bag of golden candy and just left. Asterisk whispered, "Oh my God." Mike starts grabbing handfuls, stuffing his pockets. "We're rich, men. We're actually rich." But Jake's got this feeling. Like they're being watched. Like they've walked into someone's house without permission. He keeps turning around, but there's nothing behind them except darkness. "Mike," he says, "maybe we should." That's when they hear it. Just for a second. Like someone's whistling an old tune, way back in the tunnels. They both freeze. "Did you hear that?" Jake asks. Mike's not listening. He's found something else. Something that makes his face go white even in the dim light. It's a skeleton. Sitting against the cave wall, still wearing the tattered remains of mining clothes. The skull is tilted back like it's laughing at some joke only it knows. And clutched in its bony fingers, a piece of paper. Mike reaches for it, but Jake grabs his arm. "Don't. It's just paper, man. Don't touch it." But Mike's already got gold fever. He's not thinking straight. He pulls away from Jake and grabs the note. It's old, yellow and brittle, but the writing's still clear. Written in shaky handwriting, like someone was scared or hurt. Day 12. They're all gone now. Thomas went mad on day 7. Started talking to things that weren't there. Emma lasted until yesterday, found her at the bottom of shaft 3. Don't know if she jumped or... I hear them calling my name. The gold wants company. If you're reading this, get out. The mountain takes what it's owed. Samuel Murphy, 1963-inch. Jake feels ice in his veins. "We need to leave. Now." But Mike's laughing. Not normal laughter, that weird, high-pitched giggle people make when they're trying not to panic. It's just some old guy trying to scare people away from his stash. "Don't be such a baby." He crumples up the note and throws it aside. That's mistake number 2. Because as soon as that paper hits the ground, the whole cave shudders. Dust falls from the ceiling. And somewhere in the darkness, something starts laughing. Not human laughter. Something else. Jake runs. He doesn't care about the gold, doesn't care about Mike calling after him. He scrambles up that shaft like his life depends on it, because suddenly, he knows it does. Behind him, Mike's screaming. But not in pain. He's screaming in terror. It's just Mike's voice fading. "Jake? Something's down here. Something's down here." It's just... Jake reaches the surface, gasping, shaking. He looks back down the hole, shining his light. Silence. "Mike," he calls. Nothing. "Mike." And then, from way down in the darkness, he hears Mike's voice. But it's wrong. Like it's coming from underwater. Or from very, very far away. "Tick. The gold. It's beautiful. You should come back." But Jake's already running to the truck. He drives straight to the sheriff's office. Tells them everything. They organize a search party, bring rope and lights and radios. They find the mine shaft exactly where Jake said it would be. But when they go down, Mike's gone. No body. No blood. No sign of a struggle. Just footprints leading deeper into the cave system. And something else. Gold nuggets scattered across the ground like breadcrumbs. Leading into the darkness. Asterisk whispered. But that's not the end of Mike's story. That's not even close to the end. Asterisk, news report soundbite. Local man missing after cave exploration gone wrong. Authorities continue search. Asterisk. 3 days after Mike disappears, Jake's life starts falling apart. And I mean completely falling apart. First, it's the nightmares. Every night, Jake dreams about the mine. But not scary dreams, beautiful dreams. Dreams where the cave walls are lined with gold, where nuggets the size of baseballs just wait to be picked up. In the dreams, Mike's there too, smiling, telling Jake how wonderful it is down there in the dark. "You should join us," Dream Mike says. "The gold is calling your name." Jake wakes up in cold sweats, but here's the weird part. Part of him wants to go back. Then the accidents start. Jake's at a construction job, his first work in weeks, when a scaffolding collapses. Misses him by inches. The supervisor says it's impossible, those supports were checked twice. But Jake knows better. As the metal crashed down, he swears he heard laughter. The same laughter from the cave. 2 days later, he's driving to see Emma when his brakes fail. Jake's a good mechanic, he knows those brakes were fine that morning. But somehow, the brake lines are cut clean through. He barely manages to stop before plowing into a school bus. The police call it vandalism. Jake knows better. That's when the calls start. 3 a.m., Jake's phone rings. No caller ID. He answers and all he hears is that whistling. The same tune from the mine, but clearer now. Like someone standing right next to him. He hangs up. The phone rings again immediately. This time it's Mike's voice. "Jake, why did you leave me? The gold is so beautiful down here. You should come back." But here's the thing, Jake checked with the phone company. Mike's phone was found in his apartment, dead battery, hasn't been used since the day they went to the mine. Jake starts researching. He's always been good with computers, taught himself when construction work got slow. And what he finds, it changes everything. Because Widow's Peak Mine? It's been killing people for 60 years. 1963, Samuel Murphy and his mining crew. 5 men went down looking for silver. Only Samuel came back up and he was different. Locals said he talked to himself, flinched at shadows, claimed the mountain was alive. Found dead 3 weeks later, apparent suicide. Note in his pocket, "Can't get their voices out of my head." 1971, the Henderson family. Father and 2 sons went camping near Widow's Peak. Found their tent a week later, shredded from the inside. No bodies. Just gold flakes scattered around the campsite and 3 sets of footprints leading toward the mine. 1988, Dr. Margaret Chin, geologist from Colorado University, went to study the rock formations. Her research notes, found months later in her abandoned car. The mineral deposits don't make sense. It's like the gold is growing, moving. I can hear singing in the rocks. 1995, twin brothers Bobby and Rick Yates. Treasure hunters with metal detectors. Rick called 911 from inside the mine, screaming about his brother trying to feed him to the walls. Rescue team found Rick's phone at the bottom of a shaft, but no Rick. No Bobby. Just gold nuggets arranged in perfect spirals. The pattern's always the same. Someone finds the mine. Someone goes missing. And the survivors? They all say the same thing. The gold calls to you. It gets in your head. And once it's there, Jake's phone rings again. He doesn't want to answer, but his hand moves on its own. "Hello, Jake." It's not Mike this time. It's a woman's voice. Soft motherly. "My name was Margaret. Dr. Margaret Chin. I studied rocks, Jake. Minerals and crystals and the way the earth holds its secrets." Her voice is getting clearer, more solid. "Do you want to know what I learned?" Jake tries to hang up, but the phone won't respond. The gold isn't just gold, Jake. It's hungry. It feeds on loneliness, on desperation, on people who have nothing left to lose. People like you. Asterisk, Jake's voice shaky. "What do you want?" It's just, "We want you to come home, Jake." Mike's here. He's waiting. We're all waiting. And Emma, a sweet little Emma, she misses her daddy. The phone goes dead. Jake's hands are shaking. Emma's at her mom's house in Colorado Springs. There's no way anyone down in that mine could know about Emma. He drives to Colorado Springs at 2 a.m., breaking every speed limit. His ex-wife Sarah answers the door in her bathrobe, furious. "Jake? What the hell? Where's Emma?" "She's asleep. It's the middle of the night. Are you insane?" But Jake pushes past her, runs to Emma's room. She's there, safe in her bed, but she's mumbling in her sleep. And the words make Jake's blood freeze. "The pretty rocks, Daddy. The singing rocks want you to come play?" Sarah follows him in. She's been having nightmares since last week. Keeps talking about caves and gold and... "Jake, what did you do?" Jake can't explain. How do you tell someone that an abandoned mine is somehow reaching into your 7-year-old daughter's dreams? How do you explain that voices from 60 years ago are using your phone? But that night, lying on Sarah's couch, Jake makes a decision. He's going back to the mine. Not because he wants the gold, he's seen what it costs. But because whatever's down there has touched his daughter. And that crosses a line. He spends the next day preparing. Rope, flashlights, emergency flares. He doesn't tell Sarah where he's going. Just kisses Emma goodbye and promises he'll fix everything. But as he's leaving, Emma grabs his hand. "Daddy," she says, her 7-year-old eyes way too serious. "The rock people say thank you. They say you're coming home." Jake's blood turns to ice. "What rock people, sweetheart?" Emma points to her bedroom window. "The ones who live in the mountain. They've been waiting so long for you to come back." And there, reflected in the glass. For just a second, Jake sees them. Dozens of faces, pale and hollow-eyed, all smiling at him. All waiting. Emma's voice, distorted. "They say the gold is ready for you, Daddy." But when Jake blinks, there's nothing there. Just his own reflection, looking terrified. That's when Jake realizes the truth. It doesn't matter if he goes back to the mine or not. The mine has already come to him. And it's not just after Jake anymore. It wants his daughter too. Asterisk, whispered. But Jake has no idea what he's walking into. Because the mine, it's been getting stronger. And hungrier. And it's learned some new tricks. October 23rd, 8 days after Mike disappeared. Jake's standing at the edge of Widow's Peak again, but this time he's not the same person who ran away screaming. This time he's angry. See, last night Emma called him. Except, Emma doesn't have a phone. She's 7. But somehow, at 3:17 a.m., Jake's phone lit up with her name on the caller ID. "Daddy." Her little voice was scared, distant. "Daddy, I'm in the cave. It's cold here. The gold people say they want to show me something. But I can't find the way out." Asterisk, Jake's voice, panicked. "Emma? Emma? Where are you?" But when Jake called Sarah, frantic, waking up the whole house, Emma was right there in her bed. Never moved. Never woke up. Phone call lasted 4 minutes and 37 seconds according to Jake's call log. But Emma's phone records? No outgoing calls. Jake's not playing games anymore. He's got a plan. Get down there, find Mike, or what's left of him, and end this thing before it gets its hooks deeper into Emma. He rappels down the shaft, but the caves, different now. Bigger. The tunnels stretch further than they did before, like the mountain's been hollowing itself out. The gold nuggets are arranged in patterns now, spirals and lines that hurt to look at directly. And the walls are singing. Not loud. Just this low, constant vibration that gets under your skin. Jake's heard of this infrasound, frequencies below human hearing that can make you feel watched, paranoid, afraid. But this doesn't feel random. It feels purposeful. Like the mountains trying to tell him something. Jake follows the gold nugget trail deeper into the caves. His flashlight beam keeps catching things that shouldn't be there, fresh footprints in century-old dust, scratch marks on walls that look like writing, shadows that move when he's not looking directly at them. And everywhere that smell. Not decay, something else. Something alive. He finds the first body about a quarter mile in. It's Samuel Murphy. Or what's left of him. Still sitting against the cave wall, just like his note said. But Samuel Murphy died in 1963. This body, it looks maybe a few weeks old. Jake shines his light closer and sees something that makes him stumble backward. Samuel's wearing Jake's watch. The one Jake lost in the construction accident last week. Jake's voice whispered, "What the hell?" That's when he hears the whistling again. Closer now. Jake follows the sound deeper into the cave system. The tunnels branch and twist like a maze, but somehow he knows exactly where to go. Like he's been here before. Like he belongs here. He finds Mike in what looks like a natural cathedral. A huge cavern with walls covered in gold veins that pulse with their own light. Mike's sitting in the center, cross-legged, smiling. But it's not Mike anymore. "Jake, you came back. I knew you would." Mike's eyes reflect the gold light like an animal's. "You have to see this. You have to understand what we found." Jake keeps his distance. "Mike, we need to get out of here. This place, it's not right. It's messing with our heads." Mike laughs, and the sound echoes off the cavern walls like there's a dozen Mikes laughing at once. "Our heads? Jake, this place isn't messing with our heads. It's opening them. Do you know what this is?" Mike gestures to the walls, the gold, the pulsing light. This isn't a mine, Jake. It's a heart. The mountain's heart. And it's been beating for thousands of years, waiting for someone to listen. Jake can feel it now. The pulse in the walls matching his own heartbeat. The gold seems to flow like liquid mercury, forming shapes and patterns that look almost like faces. The Native Americans knew, Mike continues. That's why they never settled here. They called it the Hungry Mountain. But they didn't understand, it's not hungry for food. It's hungry for connection, for consciousness, for minds to join with its own. Jake's backing toward the tunnel, but his feet feel heavy, like he's walking through mud. Mike, listen to yourself. This isn't you talking. Isn't it? Mike stands up, and Jake can see that his friend's clothes are shot through with gold veins, like the metal is growing through his skin. I've never been more myself, Jake. I've never been more complete. That's when Jake sees the others. They emerge from the shadows like they were always there, just waiting to be noticed. Dr. Margaret Chin, her hiking clothes still muddy from 1988. The Henderson family, father and sons holding hands. Samuel Murphy, looking exactly like he did in 1963. Dozens of others, all with that same peaceful smile, all with gold veins running under their skin like luminous tattoos. We've been waiting for you, Jake, Margaret says, her voice kind but somehow wrong. The mountain showed us what you need. A home. A family. A purpose. The Henderson father nods. No more bills, Jake. No more late-night phone calls from landlords. No more watching your little girl grow up from a distance. Emma could be here too, Samuel Murphy adds. Safe. Protected. Part of something bigger than herself. Asterisk, Jake's voice, shaking. Stay away from my daughter. Mike takes a step closer. Jake, I'm trying to help you. We all are. This is paradise. No pain, no loneliness, no failure. Just connection. Pure connection. The gold in the walls pulses brighter, and Jake can feel thoughts that aren't his own pushing into his mind. Memories of other people's lives. Samuel Murphy's last moments before the cave claimed him, not terror, but relief. Dr. Chen's wonder as she realized she was becoming part of something vast and ancient. The Henderson boys laughing as the mountain welcomed them home. It would be so easy. Jake can feel how easy it would be. Just sit down, let the gold grow through his skin, become part of the mountain's consciousness. No more struggling to pay rent. No more watching Sarah move further away with Emma. No more being alone. Jake's hand reaches toward the nearest gold vein almost without his permission. But then his phone buzzes. One bar of signal, somehow, this deep underground. A text from Sarah, Emma's asking about you. When are you coming to see her again? Jake looks at the message, then at Mike and the others surrounding him. At their peaceful, empty smiles. At the gold growing under their skin like beautiful cancer. And he makes his choice. Jake lights an emergency flare and throws it at the nearest wall. The cavern fills with red light, and the collected spirits of Widow's Peak Mine scream in harmony, not in pain, but in rage. You can't leave. Mike shouts, his voice distorting into something inhuman. You belong here. Emma belongs here. But Jake's already running. Behind him, the mountain's heart beats faster, angrier. The tunnels shift and change, trying to trap him. Walls close in. Passages that led one way suddenly dead end. The gold veins pulse like arteries, and Jake can hear the mountain's voice, not words, but pure emotion. Hunger. Loneliness. Desperate, ancient need. Jake climbs toward the surface, using every ounce of strength he has left. The mine shaft seems miles longer than when he descended. Behind him, he can hear them following footsteps that echo like thunder, voices calling his name with love and rage and terrible patience. He reaches the surface just as dawn breaks over the mountains. Jake collapses next to his truck, shaking, covered in gold dust that glitters in the early light. For a moment, he thinks he's safe. Then he looks at his hands. Thin lines of gold are growing under his skin like golden ivy, already reaching toward his wrists. And in his head, soft as a whisper, he can hear them calling. Asterisk, multiple voices, fading. Come back, Jake. Come home. We'll wait for you. We'll always wait, asterisk. But Jake has realized something the others missed. The mountain doesn't just want him. It wants everyone he's ever loved. And it's not going to stop with just one family. Asterisk, ominous music building. But Jake has no idea how right he is. Because the mine's influence is spreading. And its next target is closer than he thinks. Jake wakes up in Denver General Hospital 3 days later with no memory of how he got there. The doctors say a trucker found him on Highway 285, walking in the middle of the road at 4 a.m., talking to people who weren't there. But Jake remembers everything. The gold veins under his skin are gone. The doctors think they were just scratches that got infected. But Jake knows better. He can feel them just under the surface, waiting. Every time he looks in a mirror, for just a second, he sees them glowing. And the whispers, they never stopped. Dr. Reeves, the psychiatrist, thinks Jake's having a psychotic break. Isolation, financial stress, the trauma of losing your friend, it's actually quite common. With medication and therapy we can... Jake interrupts. Doctor, how many people have gone missing near Widow's Peak in the last 60 years? Dr. Reeves frowns. I don't see how that's relevant to your... 17. Jake's done the math. 17 people in 60 years. Always the same pattern. Always the same result. How do you explain that with medication and therapy? But Dr. Reeves just makes notes on his clipboard and increases Jake's dosage. The real problem isn't the doctors not believing Jake. The real problem is what's happening to Emma. Sarah brings her to visit on day 4, and Jake can see it immediately. Emma's too quiet, too still. She sits in the plastic hospital chair like she's listening to something only she can hear. How are you feeling, sweetheart? Jake asks. Emma looks at him with eyes that seem way too old for a 7-year-old. The rock people miss you, Daddy. They say you're not coming home. Sarah's face goes white. She's been saying things like this all week. The school counselor thinks she's processing your episode, but Jake, some of the things she says. Emma reaches into her backpack and pulls out a drawing. It's done in gold crayon, the only color she used. It shows a mountain with a door and stick figures holding hands inside. At the bottom, in careful 7-year-old handwriting, Daddy's new friends. But it's not the drawing that makes Jake's blood freeze. It's what Emma whispers next. Mike says to tell you the door is always open. And Margaret says Emma is such a pretty name. Just like hers was. Sarah grabs Emma's hand. We're leaving. Now. But as they walk toward the door, Emma turns back to Jake. For just a second, her eyes flash with that same golden light Jake saw in Mike's. And she smiles a smile that's way too knowing, way too patient. Bye, Daddy. See you soon. That night, Jake checks himself out of the hospital against medical advice. He's got a plan, but it's not one Dr. Reeves would approve of. Jake drives straight to the Colorado State Library and starts researching. Not just disappearances, everything. Geological surveys, mining records, Native American folklore. He stays up for 3 straight days, living on coffee and determination until he finds what he's looking for. 1847. A journal entry from a cavalry officer named William Torres. His unit was chasing Ute warriors through the mountains when they camped near what's now called Widow's Peak. Torres writes, "The savages will not approach the Yellow Mountain. They say it eats spirits. 3 of my men ventured into the caves against orders. They returned changed, spoke of voices, of gold that sang to them. Had to restrain them from returning to the caves. 2 days later, found their bodies at the base of the mountain. Apparent suicide, but their pockets were full of gold nuggets." 1889. A mining company report. The Widow's Peak site shows unusual mineral deposits. Gold content appears to fluctuate in response to human presence. Recommend avoiding large excavation operations. The local Ute chief warns of the mountain that dreams. Absurd superstition, but 3 surveying teams have reported severe psychological disturbances after extended exposure. 1923. A letter from a geologist to the University of Colorado. The gold deposits at Widow's Peak defy explanation. They appear to be growing, spreading through the surrounding rock like some kind of metallic organism. Most disturbing, spectral analysis shows trace elements that don't match any known terrestrial sources. It's as if the gold itself is alien. Jake leans back in his chair, pieces clicking together. It's not a cursed mine. It's not some ancient Native American burial ground. It's something else entirely. Something that crashed into this mountain thousands of years ago. Something that learned to mimic gold, to attract human minds the way a flower attracts bees. Something that feeds on consciousness, on thought, on the electrical patterns of human brains. Jake's phone rings. Sarah's number. "Jake, you need to get over here. Right now." Her voice is scared, shaking. "What's wrong?" "It's Emma. Jake, she built something in her room. I don't know what it is, but it looks like gold. It looks exactly like the stuff in your drawings from the hospital." Jake's blood turns to ice. "What kind of something?" "A door. She built a door. And she keeps trying to walk through it." Jake breaks every speed limit getting to Sarah's house. He finds her in Emma's room, holding their daughter back from a shimmering archway that definitely wasn't there this morning. It's made of what looks like liquid gold, flowing upward in impossible spirals. And on the other side, Jake can see the cave, the cathedral chamber where he left Mike and the others. They're all there, smiling, waving, calling Emma's name. Multiple voices calling, "Come play with us, Emma?" Emma struggles in her mother's arms, reaching for the golden door. "Let me go, Mommy. My friends are waiting." But it's not Emma's voice anymore. It's Mike's voice coming out of Emma's mouth. Asterisk Jake's voice, firm, "Emma, look at me. Look at me." Emma turns, and for a second, she's his daughter again. Scared, confused, tears running down her face. "Daddy? What's happening to me?" Jake kneels down, takes her hands. "Sweetheart, there are some very bad people trying to trick you. They want you to come with them, but if you do, you can never come home." Emma nods, but Jake can see the golden light flickering behind her eyes. The mine's influence is getting stronger. "Can you do something for me, Emma? Can you tell those people in the door that you don't want to play with them?" Emma turns toward the golden archway. For a moment, the figures on the other side smile, waiting. Then Emma squares her little shoulders and shouts, "Go away. I don't want to play with you." The golden door explodes into 1,000 glittering fragments that fade like smoke. Emma collapses into Jake's arms, herself again. But Jake knows it's not over. Because in the silence that follows, he can hear something else. A sound like thunder, but constant. Getting closer. Sarah looks out the window and goes pale. "Jake, what is that?" On the horizon, Widow's Peak Mountain is glowing. Golden light pouring from 100 cave openings like the mountain is full of lava. And something else, shapes moving through the light. Figures walking down from the peak toward the town. Mike and Margaret and Samuel Murphy and all the others. Coming to collect what they think belongs to them. Jake has maybe an hour before they reach Colorado Springs. An hour to figure out how to stop something that's been hunting humans for thousands of years. But he's got one advantage the others didn't have. He's got something worth fighting for. Asterisk Emma's voice, sleepy. "Daddy? Are the rock people going away now?" Jake holds his daughter tight and makes a promise. To her, to Sarah, to everyone who's going to be in danger when those things reach town. "Yes, sweetheart. Daddy's going to make sure they go away forever." Because Jake Morrison might be broke, might be scared, might be in over his head, but he's also a father. And fathers protect their children. No matter what it costs.